There's images you see on TV which you simply never forget.
Look! God! That's the most amazing road I've ever seen. Built in the 70s, this is the Transfagarasan highway. 6,000 tons of dynamite were used to make it, and 40 lives lost.
That's how I found myself in the beautiful Romanian town of Sibiu. You can hear the bells ringing because I'm waking up at, frankly, ridiculous times in order to do what most would describe as clinically insane with a tiny dose of masochism. A few months ago, I was blown away by the beauty of the snow-capped mountains of Transylvania, and I realized that the road I had once heard about on an episode of Top Gear passed through those very same slopes. So when I knew I would once again be passing through Romania during the only season the road is open to the public, I knew I would regret not doing everything I could to experience the Transfagarasan for myself. Every year the road attracts thousands upon thousands of keen tourists to its winding mountain slopes. The vast majority of these visitors make the ascent in the comfort of four wheels, knowing that as long as they got fuel in the tank, all they need to get to the top is to step on that gas pedal. But that's not good enough for me. One day, I'll grab a sports car with a massive engine on the back and I'll take on those hairpin turns like a proper degenerate. But today, I'm staying humble and I'm conquering this mountain pass using a different weapon.
This is my weapon of choice for today. It's my old Orbea, and it looks very different from the original state. You can find more details about what I did to this bike in another video of mine. I only made two key upgrades for this climb and descent. Number one is the tires. These are Rubino Pros from Vitoria. They are the next level up from the Safira Pros which I used to have on this bike. Number two is the brake shoes and brake pads. I used to have the stock Tiagra ones installed, but I wasn't happy with the performance and stopping power, so I upgraded to Cube Acid brake shoes. You will notice that these two upgrades are not really meant for climbing. There's not much you can do to improve your climbing ability other than to train, but they will be absolutely instrumental in getting me out alive from that descent.
So with the upgrades taken care of, I packed up my bike in Bulgaria, where I'd been living all summer, and made the long journey to Romania. Once I arrived, I assembled my bike once again and made sure that the setup was completely dialed in. Then I came up with a plan. No fancy shit, as I would only have one day to attempt the climb. My journey began in Sibiu, waking up at 3 AM, stepping on a train at 4 and arriving at 5, dead of night. That hour aboard the finest of European trains would give me plenty of time to pray to Hermes, the messenger of the gods, to grace me with the legs to successfully climb the Transfagarasan and come back down unscathed. Or, sleep. Once on Curța, it would be a relatively easy climb through the black of night.
What the fuck am I doing then?
To the town of Carpathian, where the morning light began to cast the silhouettes of the Carpathians before me. Shortly after, I reached the foot of the mountain where the despicable violence of the climb brought my average speed from a respectable 16 kilometers an hour to a heartbreaking 9. I also went all the way down to my last gear, and I would stay on that gear for most of the remaining 25 kilometers to La Culbalea at the top. I kept my cadence on the pedals high, and most importantly, kept the fuel steadily coming in until I stopped around the 19-kilometer mark to give my ass a much needed break. Alright, so I'm going to take this opportunity to talk a little bit of nutrition here. So on my bike, as you can see, I've got a frame bag right here and a top tube bag. On my frame bag, which I'm kind of using instead of bottle cage, I've got mineral water and an assortment of power bars. Mostly I just got a bunch of these two, coconut protein bars and zero sugar baked oat bar. So I got these in Bulgaria. You don't need to go with anything fancy, but it's got a bunch of those, and I'm just alternating eating between them two on the way up. And on my top tube bag, I've got basically the exact same thing: my phone, my wallet, and that's about it. This video is about using the equipment that you've got, making the best out of the situation, and you know, you don't need anything fancy to go with the mountain, so let's keep going. Forgot one more thing that's very important for nutrition: sour gummies. The road continued a few kilometers up one side of the mountain until I reached a sharp bend where the lazy can hop on a cable car and cheat their way to the top. I stopped off to have a look at the ravine carved by the river Balja, and then kept on pushing. I'm about a third of the way through, and it is absolutely brutal so far. It is just continuous uphill, non-stop. Most climbs have a little bit of a respite in between, you know. They climb a little bit, and then you got a flat section, or you have a tiny downhill before you start going back up again. Fuck. This is nothing alike. This just keeps going up and up and up. I have not changed gear from my easiest. And let me tell you, it's a fucking grind. So the road itself is actually kept quite clean and well maintained, save for a few sections where it's a little bit bumpy, like right now. We'll see how it looks once we get to the taller stage, but so far, so good. At this point, the surrounding tree line began to reveal glimpses of how high I'd already climbed. Not a bad view, eh? But my legs also began to protest every single pedal stroke. I refilled one of my 3 bottles of Borsec with fresh mountain water and pushed on until I reached the last section of this uphill journey. The same grass-covered hills I'd once seen on a TV screen had now materialized before me. The end is in sight. One last 8-kilometer push, and the job would be done. It was towards the end of my summer-long stay in Bulgaria, sitting in a cafe in the center of Sofia, that the thought of taking my bike all the way to the top of the Carpathians first occurred to me. A week later, I was climbing the pass surrounding Vitosha mountain, a modest 800-meter climb from my flat in the outskirts of Sofia to the village of Yarema, a taste of the pain to come. A week after that, I was in Romania, with a sore neck, no sleep, and just enough time to get my bike set up, have a quick look around Sibiu, and enjoy a 3-hour nap before my train ride to Corte. But I did it. 3 hours and 37 minutes of riding, 36.4 kilometers and 1,668 meters of climbing, and 2 unfathomably sore butt cheeks. A small price to pay for the future ability to casually drop an anecdote about climbing the world's most beautiful road on an old Orbea that cost me less than 400 euro to put together. But the story was not yet over.
The rain came.
You see, when you're born and raised at 2,600 meters of altitude, you learn that the conditions can and will change at the drop of a hat. As we say in my home city of Toluca, ¿No te gusta el clima? Espérate 5 minutos. A storm had crept over La Culbalia, potentially making things very interesting for the 60-kilometer descent back to Sibiu. But I wasn't worried. I warmed up at the lakeside cabin with Romanian soup, and I lit up a cigar as I sipped on my cappuccino. Life is short, and believe me, worse things can happen than being stuck in the mountains at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday.
I'll wait a little longer while we are getting stronger.